5 variables affect how much you should eat if you wish to maintain a healthy weight. And those 5 variables are your sex, your age, your height, your race, and the level of exercise you perform. 4 of those are immutable, they are fixed, permanent, nothing you can do about them. And 1 of them is most mutable, something you can do something about, and that is the level of exercise you do. You can run, you can jump, you can skip, you can hop, you can carry, you can wrestle, you can swim, you can punch, row, cycle, bat, catch and kick to your heart's content. Do all these things, and as we all know, you can eat more food. But the other 4, as I say, they're fixed, they're immutable, there is nothing you can do about them, which is actually why I gave this video number 5, the puzzling, contrary, and ever so slightly clickbaity title, Change Your Sex, Age, Height and Race to Lose Weight. You cannot. That cannot happen. But it is interesting to find out that if you were a different you, ever so slightly, in one direction or another, how much more or how much less food you could eat a day. This is the one mutable variable that affects how much food you should eat each day. And I've got 2 stories to tell you, and these are 2 seemingly contradictory stories. In one story, I'm going to be telling you that exercise is very, very important to your weight loss journey. And in the other story, I'm going to be telling you that exercise is really not that important to your weight loss journey. This is the example where exercise is not very important. This is where you're telling yourself that you're going to lose lots of weight through doing lots of exercise. Probably you're not. That's probably not going to happen. These videos are based on a book I wrote a couple of years ago. I don't really want you to buy this book. Even though I like the book, I like it very much. It's very dear to me. But frankly, they cost me so much to print that I lose £4 on each one I sell. However, if you must have a copy, they are available, and there's a link at the bottom of this video. It's called Snackadoodle Don't, the easy way to lose weight and stay thin. But if you'll indulge me, I'll read from this book, from a chapter early on called What's So Bad About Snacks Anyway? And this is a chapter where I'm, as the title would suggest, I'm trying to illustrate just how calorific common snacks are for us. So I write this. If you're at all unclear about how calorific these innocent-looking bright packages of joy are, here is an illustration to highlight the incredible calorie density of your typical factory-made snack. Now, in the UK, anybody over the age of 40, such as myself, tends to call the humble Snickers bar by its old British name, the Marathon bar. It's a boomer Gen X thing. We mainly do it to wind up the millennials. However, hang on to that thought, because there's an interesting link between the snack's original name, Marathon Bar, and its calorie content. Now, if you happen to treat yourself to a daily marathon snack bar, you're going to need to run an actual marathon every 9 to 10 days to burn off the excess calories from this regular treat. I've put a note at this point in the book saying true at the time of writing. Obviously, this calculation is subject to the vagaries of product shrinkflation. I was working off a calorie value there of 300 odd calories. They have reduced actually. But anyway, the point still stands. Whether it's Snickers, Mars or a packet of crisps, snacks are a very quick way to stack up the calories. Do you run a marathon every 10 days? No? Very few people do. So do yourself a favour and remember that fact next time you sneak a Snickers in through your snack trap. That's the first story, the story where exercise is not very important. If you think you're going to exercise away these excess calories you wish to eat, you're not. Basically, from the calculation in this book, if you need to eat a Snickers a day, you're going to have to run 2.6 miles to do that, to afford the calories to do that. That's the equivalent to running around a soccer pitch 12 times. Or if you like your football more American, 13 times around an American football pitch. I had no idea that until I researched this, that American football pitches are smaller than British soccer pitches. Who knew? Once you've done that 12 or 13 times round the pitch, you then and only then will you have earned enough calories to enjoy your humble Snickers bar. In other words, if you intend to lose weight by doing extra exercise, you've basically got to live like Forrest Gump for that weird 3-year period in the middle of his film where he was running all across America for no good reason. Now the example where exercise is very important to your weight loss journey. This is where you accidentally kid yourself that you're doing more exercise than you actually do. And now I did cover this very nicely in video 3, a video called The Numbers. So there's no point in repeating the work. Here's what I said then. The exercise levels offered on the BBC calorie counter are little to none, 2 light, 1 to 2 days a week, 3 moderate, 3 to 5 days a week, 4 heavy, 6 to 7 days exercise a week, if you can imagine such a thing, or very heavy, number 5, twice a day, extra heavy workouts, 6 to 7 days a week, if you can. Be honest with yourself. Don't exaggerate. It makes a big difference. I fall between 2 and 3, light and moderate. Being honest with myself. If I put in light, this illustrates the difference between these categories and how important they are. If I put in light, for my statistics, my height, age and sex, it gives me 2,105 calories a day that I can eat. But if I put in moderate, that goes up to 2,373. That's a 268 calorie difference between light and moderate, 2 adjacent exercise levels. That's the equivalent to a donut a day. I like donuts a lot. So you can see the temptation there to exaggerate. It's a great temptation. If anything, err on the side of caution. Go low rather than high with this one, because otherwise you'll just be told something you want to hear, but it's not truth. And what you'll hear is, I can eat loads of calories and it's okay because I do all this exercise I mythically do. Don't fool yourself. So what's going on here? How can exercise be both important and unimportant to your weight loss journey? This isn't the contradiction it sounds like. I think it's because we're looking at both sides of the same coin. It's the same story. Basically, calories are difficult to earn, but they're easy, if unearned, to accumulate. They're easy to increase, to pile on, so you pile on weight. It's a bit like skateboarding down a hill. It is at the same time difficult to stop doing it, but it is easy to go faster. I think that's the sort of thing we're looking at. Basically, it's much easier to consume 386 calories than it is to exercise away 386 calories. I think that's why exercise is, like I say, at once both very important to your weight loss journey, but also not really that important. If you're hoping to exercise away your excess weight, your excess calories, probably not going to happen. Okay, so the 4 immutable variables that affect how much you can eat are your sex, your age, your height, and your race. This is a very easy test for you to run. Get back onto the calorie calculator that I was talking about in video 3. Put in all your details and then swap your sex and see what happens to how much food it recommends you eat each day, your maintenance reference intake. If you're male or if you're female, it does make a difference. And for all heights and ages, women should be eating between 200 and 320 calories less than a man each day. That's 200 to 320 calories less than a man each day. This difference becomes slightly more pronounced the more exercise people do. And I imagine that's because men are more muscular than women and therefore burn off more energy. Therefore, they should be eating more food the more exercise they do, relatively speaking. But also there's something else that feeds into this. Women are on average 6 inches shorter than men. The average height in Britain for a man is 5'9". The average height for a woman is 5'3". That 6 inches will on average mean that women should be eating 345 calories less than men a day. So when you add that together, it's around 600 calories. On average, a woman should eat 600 calories less a day than a man. Again, in my lovely little book that I don't want you to buy, I wrote about this in a chapter called Weight Loss is Sexist. Now, that's a silly thing to say. Weight loss is weight loss. It's neither sexist nor not sexist. It just is what it is. But, well, you'll see where I'm heading with this. Remarking on Fred Astaire's nimble dance floor prowess, Ginger Rogers said, "Yes, but I did the same thing backwards and in high heels." She later denied that this was her quote, which is a shame because whoever said it had spotted a universal truth. This famous backwards in high heels line neatly illustrates that so much in life seems to be made more difficult for women than for men. I would suggest that perhaps only war contradicts this general truth. I think war is horrible for men, especially young men, as we force them into the teeth of 20th and 21st century war machines. It's absolutely dreadful. Weight loss is definitely more difficult for women than for men. When it was released in 1966, James Brown's hit single, "It's a Man's World," was described by Rolling Stone magazine as biblically chauvinistic. Nice turn of phrase, sure, but I'm afraid I find myself agreeing with the godfather of soul. He was telling the truth. Even today, most things are made by and run by men. Although this is changing fast, it does mean that most industrial and institutional assumptions are based around being a man. Check out the brilliant 2007 series Mad Men for an insight into how disorientating the male advertising executives found the changing world around them. These slick, overconfident alphas became increasingly alienated during the age of 1960s consumerism as the power of female choice laid waste to their patriarchal assumptions. As social commentary, it is fascinating to watch these Brill-creamed Lotharios slowly adjust their thinking and their marketing as the humbling fact gradually dawns that most of their customers are women. Even today, while women still make most purchasing decisions, understanding women remains the core struggle for the capitalist male. In my opinion, the men are failing, and never more so than when it comes to food and portion sizes. To be fair to the much-abused male, I do not think he is doing it on purpose, but as we rely increasingly on factories, restaurant chains and male chefs to prepare our food, I have yet to see one of them prepare different portion sizes for women and men. Maybe it has not occurred to anybody yet, or perhaps it has, and the assumption has been that it would be sexist. So that's what I wrote about the difference between men and women and food in my book, Snackadoodle Don't. Available to buy, but please don't. This is an easy one to check out yourself on any sort of freely available online calorie calculator, but I'll save you the effort. It seems that as we age, with each year, we should be eating 8 calories less. 8 calories per year, that works out to be actually 77 calories per decade, which adds up to 1 chocolate digestive less per day with each 10 years that you age, which is a shame because I like chocolate digestives. But there's something else you need to factor into that, because as we age, we shrink. More so for women than for men. Women between the ages of 30 and 70 can expect to lose 2 inches off their overall height. For men between 30 and 70, it's 1 inch. You'll have to factor that in as you age with each birthday. It's probably a good idea to remeasure yourself and rerun the calculations as to how much food you should be eating to get your maintenance reference intake for your new height and your new age. It's a downhill journey, I'm afraid. We should eat less as we age. Height's an interesting one. We've talked about height already because we shrink as we age and women are shorter than men. But just to put it in a nutshell, it's basically 50 to 60 calories difference per inch. The taller you are, the more you can eat. That means that if you're an inch taller than somebody else, you can eat 1 small egg extra a day. As I say, between 50 and 60 calories. Now, I'm 5'8", just an inch below the British national average for men. If you're lucky enough to be one of those tall, handsome 6'2" men, congratulations. You can have a whole box of these a day, more than I can, and still remain slender. Already covered this in video 3. It's a surprising result. I didn't know going into this, before I wrote this book, I didn't know that your race affected how much food you should eat each day to remain at a healthy weight. I covered this in video number 3. Let's see what I said back then. Most calorie calculators have as the BMI between healthy and overweight. At their threshold, they have the number 25. So BMI of 25 is the lowest overweight. 24.9 is the highest healthy BMI that you should aim for. That is a whites only number. You weren't expecting me to say that, were you? I'm sure. More recent research has shown that people who are not Caucasian, not European, of European descent, need to aim for a lower BMI. That means a lower weight. That means less food. Non-whites, broadly speaking, if I can put everybody else in the world into one category, should be aiming, according to the latest science, and I think the tectonics are moving on this subject, by the way, so you should keep an eye on this. But if you're non-white, the highest BMI you should be aiming for is just shy of 23. So 23 is the lowest unhealthy BMI for non-whites, whereas 25 is the lowest unhealthy BMI for white people. That's a 2 BMI difference. That makes a big difference in how much food you should be eating, and obviously how fat you should be. For Chinese people, it's even worse. 22.2 is the maximum BMI that you as a Chinese person should be aiming for. Let me explain what a difference that would make. So I'm 5'8", I'm 57 years old, I'm obviously a white male, and I do moderate exercise, let's say, at least for the purposes of this comparison. As a white man, I am allowed up to 74.5 kilograms weight to still fall in the healthy category. If I was exactly the same in every way, except I was Chinese, that would drop down to 66.4 kilograms. Heavier than that would be unhealthy. I would be laying myself open to more non-communicable diseases, strokes, hypertension, type 2 diabetes, etc. That's an 8.1 kilogram difference. That's the weight of a 6-month-old child. The difference between a maximum healthy man of my height from China and a maximum healthy me, a Caucasian from Europe. And what does that mean when it comes to food? Like I say, assuming moderate exercise, then I would be allowed 2,397 calories a day. Whereas my Chinese counterpart, my Chinese doppelganger, would only be allowed 2,271 calories a day. And what we're talking about by allowed here is to maintain the maximum healthy weight for his race. That's 126 calories a day difference, which is with a packet of crisps. And I like crisps. So, that's something to think about. And keep an eye on this, because I think, as I understand it, the research is coming in on this. There's more and more people are alive to this and looking into this and doing some fantastic research. So if you're... I think what's going on here is that much of this science emanated from Europe and America. And as such, it was presumed, for all the statistics, it was presumed for a white dominant population. But then when you start to look at different populations, different subsets, different races, the numbers come in different, and that's what's being uncovered lately. And sadly, if you like food and you're not white, it means really for good health you should eat less. So I hope you've enjoyed this video where I've just given an overview of the 5 variables that affect how much food you should be eating each day. They are, of course, exercise, sex, age, your race, and your height. There's not a lot you can do about these things, and even the exercise one, if you're hoping to lose lots of weight through running around the place, unless you make like Forrest Gump, you're probably not going to get too far with it. You've got to do an awful lot of exercise to lose or to gain even a slight amount of calories for you to enjoy a larger amount of food. And by the way, the more you exercise, the more hungry it makes you feel anyway. So you've sort of got that going on as well. Exercising away excess weight is very difficult to do. Do exercise. It's good for you, obviously after consulting with a doctor, but make it an end in itself. The reason you should exercise is either because you enjoy it or because you want to be fitter than you would otherwise be. In my next video, video number 6, I'm going to be looking at another 1800s, 19th century numbers guy. You remember in video 4 I featured the work of Adolphe Quetelet, who was the guy who invented BMI, body mass index. I don't know what it is about these fellas from the 1900s, but they seem to... the 1800s, they seem to attract my attention, because in the next video I'm going to focus on the work of one Vilfredo Pareto and ask ourselves whether the Pareto principle is an underutilized and underexplored solution for lots of life's problems. I'll see you there.